Hello and welcome to your Experiential Learning F1 brief. So a lot of the things that you are going to learn in the first few lessons of the semester will be tested in this assessment. And all of the things that you are learning, the goal is to help you find a job. So that's why the title is The Self in the Workplace. So it's all going to be extremely practical, and you can actually use the things that you produce from this assessment to help you find a job and become a more rounded, wholesome person. So let's dive in. You should spend about 10 hours in lectures preparing for this assessment and 18 hours of your own personal times. That's mornings, evenings, weekends of your own time to get this assessment done. And we are briefing in week 2. And here is your scope. As an individual, you and your individual development, and more specifically, self-development, form the heart and core focus of this individual assessment. In this individual assessment, you'll be guided through the process of self-reflection on your personality, interests, and transferable skills as you begin to prepare yourself for the world of work in the media industry. So that's exactly why you're doing the diploma that you're doing. You will also be tasked with presenting your best self in the online sphere by creating a LinkedIn profile that showcases your skills, abilities, experiences, and unique talents. So we're not in old school where we're telling you to print out a CV and hand it out. No, we're going to help you create the best LinkedIn profile possible, which will help you to find a job in our current digitally converged world. In addition, you will focus on developing your active listening skills while exploring the topics of workplace conflict and bullying alongside a managerial professional. So all of this is super practical and it's exciting. So question 1 for 33 marks, that's a full third of the marks for this assessment. Knowing oneself is a paramount for effective communication, relationship building, and achieving an array of personal and professional successes. Develop an in-depth understanding of the multiple facets of the self is key to navigate through life successfully and impactfully. So that's from your textbook. It's misspelled there. It should be 7. Consider the above statement and in a short paragraph of 250 words, reflect on your personality, skills, interests, strengths, and weaknesses, and provide an overview of who you are as a person and how self-aware you are. So you don't get marks for saying, I'm great, I'm 100% realized as a human being, I have nowhere to grow or develop, I'm perfect the way I am. That is not the goal here. It is to be honest with yourself. And those of you who aren't sure of how you can tell how many words 250 words is, if you are working in Word, you can highlight something. So this is a paragraph, and you can see there at the bottom, it has 109 words for that paragraph. So this paragraph is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences, long sentences, and it's 250 words. Another way that you can check words is to highlight something and then go to review and click word count. And that will tell you exactly how many words you have. So when I taught this last year, I noticed a lot of students were way under 250 words just because you're not very good at guessing. Like, I'm sure if you guessed, you'd think, oh, that's about 250 words. That's a short paragraph. No. So this is 4 long sentences. It's just over 100 words. So you need to be writing about 8 to 10 long sentences, or to be more precise, 250 words-ish. Nobody's going to be upset if you write 223 words or 257 words, as long as it's in that range. Just to make sure that you are getting into the level of depth that is required of this question to get all 5 marks. So if you think, oh, 5 marks, not many, that's 5% of your entire assessment. That is nothing to sniff at, especially when so many people tend to be on the cusp of passing. So you're going to write this paragraph reflecting on your personality. That's a couple sentences. Your skills, another couple sentences. Your interests, 1 sentence. Your strengths, 1 or 2 sentences, and weaknesses, to provide an overview of who you are and how self-aware you are. So as you can see, that is quite a few different things you're going to be writing about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different topics need to be filled in regarding who you are as a person. So please give plenty of detail. This is something that you don't need much preparation to do. You know what a strength is. You know what a weakness is. You could type this up right now. And then before you submit, just make sure that you do a spell check and read it through again out loud to make sure that you can improve it in any way before hitting submit. Okay, so that's the first 5 marks. Now proceed to take both the Enneagram personality test and the 16 personalities type finder test at these respective and free addresses. I'm going to double check how free those are and how available those are, but these are they're tools that you can use to assess who you are and what your particular strengths are. After taking the tests, report on your findings in a paragraph of 250 words. So again, that's about 10 sentences, which addresses the following. What are the major similarities and key differences between your assessment of your personality, skills, strengths, weaknesses, and the results from your personality tests? I know that the way we see ourselves can sometimes be different to the way that the test sees us. You're going to reflect on whether the test is accurate, why, and did you learn something new about yourself? What does that imply about your level of self-awareness? So again, that's another 5% of your total marks. So to get those 250 words, you are answering both of these questions. To answer these questions, I would like you to please actually take these tests. And if you have any trouble with these links, you can just Google it and find a different test. I don't want to hear that excuse. Just find an Enneagram personality test and then give your result in your paragraph. The 16 personalities, that'll be like INTJ, ENFI, or something like that. So you can find a number of different tests. If you don't enjoy these or you find them difficult to use, just provide your result and then reflect on whether it aligns with the way you see yourself. So that is to show that you have the ability to think critically about yourself and the things that you read on the internet. So far, so good. Easy peasy. You can do both of these. You can get your whole first 10% in one afternoon by just writing 20 sentences and filling in a couple of personality tests. Great. Let's move on to the next 6 marks. Communication, critical thinking, creativity, leadership, teamwork, technical ability, and multitasking are 7 interconnected transferable skills that most individuals have developed to a certain degree. And these skills are important for any job or career choice. So communication, 1, critical thinking, 2, creativity, 3. So you see each of these is one of the transferable skills. So these are things that you learn in any kind of role where you have responsibility. Even as a student, you develop these, and they are transferable to your future job or future studies, or even your ability to run a home and be a parent. Okay, so you're going to critically reflect and identify your 3 least developed transferable skills. So maybe you struggle with teamwork. That seems to be a common one. Maybe you struggle with critical thinking. You'll know that you struggle with critical thinking if this question was difficult for you. You couldn't think critically about it. And we're also going to talk about what critical thinking is within your lectures. So attending lectures will help you to get good marks for this. It's as simple as that. Leadership might also be a struggle. Maybe you're shy, and so on. So you're going to select 3 skills and explain through practical examples why it is these 3 skills that need some extra attention and development. So that means if you select creativity, you are then going to explain why, through practical examples, you need to work on your creativity. So maybe part of your subject involved designing something, and you struggled to design something without using a template that you found online, you could use that as an example of why you need to develop your creativity. Teamwork, you could discuss a practical example of a time that you struggled to work in a team. Do you see how easy it is? So that's about 3 sentences per skill, I think, that you would be able to write and get those 6 marks, another 6% in the bank. So these things are not things that you need to research, but if you do research, for instance, what is critical thinking in order to write the best response you can, remember to cite your sources using the Harvard referencing system. Next, develop SMART goals to improve each of these 3 transferable skills, to explain how each occupation relates to the personality type in question. Whew. It's tricky, isn't it? You need to develop a SMART goal for each of these transferable skills. Okay, so let's use an example of teamwork. So you would insert that here. You would write teamwork. And then S stands for specific. So you then would fill in on this table specifically what you need to improve on in order to say that you have successfully achieved teamwork. So you could choose something like a group task that you have at college. Let's just choose one. You could say group assignment to create podcast with 3 classmates. So that's specific. And then your M is measurable. How will you know that you have successfully worked in a team? So you could say that you're going to measure it by reaching the deadline, completing all parts of the podcast, and doing so in collaboration with classmates. And then you've got, so that's how you'll measure it. If you reach your deadline, having completed the podcast with all of your classmates, all 3 of the others, then you know that you can measure that this is successful. And if you want to be more specific, you could give what the deadline is. Let's say it's the 4th of April. All parts of the podcast. So that's, say, script, recording, mixing, and so on. So that the more specific you are, the better. And then you want to show how it's achievable by saying, we have been provided with the rubric in advance, and we all have 2 days a week to work together. And that's how you prove that it is achievable, because you have the rubric and you have the time. And then to show how it is relevant, you could say, if I manage to complete this assignment with my classmates, it is evidence that I have improved my ability to work in a team. And then T, time bound. The deadline for the assignment is 4 April. So this is completely hypothetical, and you can see that it's not massive amounts of text, but it's decent. It's not bullet points, right? So make sure that you fill in all columns and you do so for all 3 transferable skills. So that's for quite a few marks. This is 15 marks for this table. So if you think about for that very first question, that's 250-word paragraph for 5 marks and another 250-word paragraph for 5 marks to get 10 marks. And now you're filling in a table for 15 marks. That shows the level of detail that you need to go into in order to earn those marks. 15 marks, 15% of your assignment. You don't want to miss any of those. Okay. Identify and explain which 2 transferable skills you consider to be your strength and why. So remember, this was the provided list of 7 skills. So let's say you decide that creativity and teamwork and multitasking are the ones that you are not great at, and then you are going to include those in your answer here, all 3 of those. Then you're going to select 2 which you consider to be your strengths. 2 transferable skills you consider to be your strengths. So then you'll go back to your list and think, okay, I may struggle with group work, but if given the authority, I am great at leadership. And I'm also great at communication. Those are my 2 things that I'm good at. I can tell people what they need to do, when they need to do it. Everybody understands me. I can explain when I'm not happy about something. I can give feedback, leadership and communication. So you need to identify those skills. You would say then in a full sentence, I consider leadership and communication to be my strengths. And then explain why. Ensure that these remain sharp and you continue to play to these strengths and these do not fade into the background over time. So that's just general life advice. You need to not just rest on your laurels if you consider something your strength. You keep working on your strength. So that's for 2 marks. So you don't have to write a hell of a lot there. So identify your strengths and say, why do you consider communication to be your strength? And you would just give an example there from real life. You could say, my classmates didn't understand one of the questions in the brief, but I managed to explain it to them in a way that they understood and answer all of their questions. Therefore, I'm good at communication. And a very similar example could be used for leadership. There you go. So that is a third. So that would take probably a couple of hours to complete these, but it's not overly arduous. It's all text. It's not like you have to record something or make a video. It's just writing things down. So that's very flexible, and I recommend that you just get it done whenever you have a free hour. Just do another part, and then you'll just tick them off one by one, and you'll be finished well ahead of your deadline. And then that will free up your mental capacity for other assignments, which are a little bit more challenging, perhaps. So the next question is for 25 marks. That's 1/4 of your marks for your entire assignment. Now that you have a clear understanding of your personality, strengths, weaknesses, and key skills, along with smart, goal-based action plan for self-development, you are ready to curate a professional online identity that will not only allow you to portray your best self in the professional realm, but also facilitate the effective and professional networking. LinkedIn is social media for professionals. It's all about demonstrating your strengths and sharing your moments of learning, what you learned from failures and things. It's a place where you can showcase your achievements, and you do not want a LinkedIn profile which is full of mistakes and looks unprofessional and a photo of you in your swimming costume at the beach. No, it's a professional online brand. So that is a different version of yourself than the version of yourself you may show to your friends on your holidays. Okay. LinkedIn is also a great way to find jobs. A whole bunch of companies list jobs on LinkedIn, and you can literally just apply through LinkedIn instead of having to search through the whole internet. They're just there. LinkedIn will send you emails with jobs that match your profile. So it's a really, really useful thing to have for your future, not just for this assessment. Before attempting to develop your LinkedIn profile, pay close attention to the appearance, structure, layout, and content requirements in the mark breakdown below. In your assignment, provide a working link to your LinkedIn profile and screenshots of your profile. So you know that something is a working link because you send it to somebody and they click on it and they can see where it goes. You know that it's a working link because let's say you email it to yourself and you can access that link from your phone or a different computer. That's how you know it's a working link to your profile. Screenshots, you should know how to do screenshots by now. If you're working on a desktop computer, there's a print screen button. And if you are on your phone, then you press your volume button and your on and off button at the same time. And then you can just paste those JPEGs into the Word document. Okay, but make sure that you send in both of those. Please ensure that the working link of your LinkedIn profile is present on your cover page, Addendum A. Okay, so you're going to need a professional profile photo, a personal profile or about section. That's the first thing people see on your profile. Work-related experience. And this can be any small thing that you've done for money. Employment history, education history, valuable extras such as operational licenses, corporate bodies that you belong to, and volunteer experience. So anything like that, and your languages that you speak. So let's do what it says and pay attention to the appearance, structure, and layout requirements in the mark breakdown. So let's scroll on down to question 3. No, question 2. And here we go. 25 marks. So you get 5 marks for professionalism. So that's a professional profile photo. It can literally be a selfie. It's self-timer selfie. Just put on a nice collared shirt and fold your arms, or put your, you know, that thing that people do where they do that think face, and just look professional. You can smile. You don't have to look serious, but we want you to be wearing the kind of clothes that you might wear to a job interview. And it should just be you, not you and your friends. The title name and surname is clear. No nicknames should be included. The LinkedIn profile is well structured and not too short. Great, 5 marks, easy. Appearance, structure, and writing style for 5 marks. The LinkedIn profile exhibits a sense of professionalism. I feel like you're getting extra marks for the same thing again. Great, stoked for you. A well-structured document in present includes all the important sections and headings. The various sections are presented in a logical sequence. The writing is logical and easy to understand. I highly recommend getting a friend or family member to read it through and say, hey, can you give me hints or tips on ways to improve this? And also get somebody who's quite good at English to read it for you and check for typing errors, spelling mistakes, grammatical and language errors. A working link to your LinkedIn profile as well as screenshots provided. So you can see that's 5 marks, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullet points. So if any one of those bullet points is not present, then you'll lose a mark. Content, 15 marks. This is where the bulk of your marks are coming from. So you will get marks for your personal profile or about section. Definitely get a friend to look over that for you. And when I say a friend, I mean not somebody who's taking this subject with you, somebody who is outside of the organization. Because what I don't want to happen is you'll get your friend to read it and then they think, wow, this is so good, I'm going to make my about section sound just like that. And then you've got a copying case, and we'll never know if it was you who copied them or them who copied you. So if you do ask somebody to proofread your work or give you any feedback, make sure that they are not doing this subject. Work-related experience, employment history, education history. So you may be wondering, I don't have an employment history, I'm just a student. I am going to lose marks. No, as long as you provide enough detail in the other areas, you'll be able to achieve those 15 marks, especially in your about section. Because even if your education history isn't that impressive, like you haven't done any additional certificates or anything like that, it's fine. You can get these 15 marks by just having really well-written, detailed, and well-edited content. valuable extras such as operational licenses, blah, 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 and then your languages. So that's 15 marks for that. So don't skimp, don't make it too brief. If you like, you can stalk your lecturers on LinkedIn and see how they present themselves. And I highly recommend that you do just look around on LinkedIn. Look at who else's profile is impressive and why. It's not just because of their employment history, it's because of the way they present themselves. Okay, let's go back up. So then we're moving on to the final question, 42 marks. Yo! Okay, so this is the big one. This is where it's make or break. You don't want to miss out on any of these marks. When a conversation causes negative emotions in the workplace, it's everyone's responsibility to be emotionally mature and practice emotional correctness in the workplace. It is similar to the approach of political correctness, as emotional correctness involves using appropriate and respectful ways of dealing with difficult situations. Oh, sorry, I'm just having a little pause to make sure that my recording is still working because I've been talking for a while and I don't want to lose it. Okay, great. It's similar to the approach of political correctness, as emotional correctness involves using appropriate and respectful ways of dealing with difficult situations. That's 7 out. Autocorrect. It is unlikely that everyone in the workplace will get along perfectly well, and in these cases, 5 key points can be applied to ensure emotional correctness at work. In this part of the assessment, you are required to record an interview with an individual in a managerial position for your local radio station. So just imagine that you're recording something for East Coast Radio or similar, and you have to interview somebody. I have marked some podcasts, which are hilarious, because somebody will change their voice and pretend to be the person that they're interviewing. It's so funny. Like, did you think that your lecturer wouldn't be able to tell that it was just you holding your nose and making your voice deeper? It's ridiculous. So since this part of your assessment is worth so many marks, get started now by finding somebody in a managerial position. So you're going to have to prove that this person exists. I've also had students try and pass off somebody as somebody who they are not. Cast your net wide. If you don't have any personal friends who are in a managerial position, because you are young, I get it. If your friends are your age, what would they have a chance to be a manager of? That makes sense. So cast your net, go onto Twitter or your preferred social media network and say, hi, looking for a manager in the media industry to interview about workplace conflict, get in touch. Or you could ask your friends, please send me the details of your manager if you think they're a good person that I could interview. So that is called legwork, and it's taking initiative, and it's not just expecting everything to be easy and land on your lap. They don't have to be in the media industry. It's just a manager. So they could manage a coffee shop, because as long as they have a perspective on workplace conflict and bullying, that's the most important thing. But it would be nice, for the sake of your degree, to find somebody in a managerial position in the media industry. Okay, you work as a presenter at your local radio station and are responsible for a show called Actuality Hour, which tackles and talks about real-life issues with guests from an array of different backgrounds. In the next episode, the topic centers around workplace conflict and bullying. You're required to interview a manager of your choice about handling workplace conflict and how to prevent workplace bullying. Very serious topics. During your interview, you have to discuss the article in Addendum B. So if we scroll on down, what are we talking about when we say the article? So this is Addendum A, your cover page, and then Addendum B, additional reading. So you need to try and get the person who agrees to be interviewed by you to read this article. It's not that long. It'll take them a couple minutes. If you feel like they won't read it because the person is very busy, then you can send them a voice note where you summarize the most important points, as long as they're familiar with the concepts covered in this article. Okay. So there's some fun statistics, which you can quote in your podcast as well, and other things. Remember that if you are using statistics from here, if you, let's say you quote this and you say, a shocking 96% of American workers experience bullying in the workplace. If you say that in your podcast, you can say, as reported in an article by Heidi Lynn Curter. You can just say, as reported by Heidi Lynn Curter. That's all. That's called journalistic attribution. You just mention who said that, who gave you that information. You don't have to Harvard reference in your podcast because you're talking, but you do have to say where you got your information from, especially when it comes to things like statistics. Okay, so that's the article. So you have to discuss the article. Ask the manager you're interviewing to differentiate between workplace conflict and workplace bullying. So I'm sure you should have a basic idea that conflict and bullying are different. Conflict is normal, natural, and important. Bullying is unnecessary and violent and persistent. And provide examples of real life situations of how these have been rectified. So real life examples, that's why we've asked you to speak to a manager, is because they have life experience. You obviously might have a real life situation of bullying or conflict from your studies, perhaps, and you can talk about that with them in the podcast as well. And then you're going to discuss any 5 strategies for leading and motivating people according to your textbook. And the manager will deduce whether there are any discrepancies. So these are a lot of big words. Deduce whether there are any discrepancies between what the theory suggests and what happens in real life, since the article suggests that managers and leaders often fail their subordinates. So a discrepancy is a mismatch. So if the article says that whenever there is an accusation of bullying, there has to be it has to be reported to HR, it has to be fully investigated, the identity of the person who reported it has to remain anonymous until the investigation is complete. You can also ask your manager, does this actually happen? Or does everyone know who we're talking about? Is there any kind of protection or secrecy? Does anything actually happen at all? Or is it just a matter of people being called into a meeting and yelled at for disrupting the peace? Okay, so you're looking for a mismatch between theory and real life. And your manager may well say, well, there's not enough time to deal with every little incident of bullying and things, especially in radio, where insulting each other is part of the banter. People get too sensitive and they shouldn't be in the recording studio if they can't handle it. It might be interesting to hear what they have to say, even if you don't agree with it. Okay, pay attention to the following requirements. The interview should be between 3 and 4 minutes. That's not less than 3 and not exceeding 4 minutes. So you've got quite a bit to talk about, haven't you? Discussing the article and the manager's examples, and 5 strategies, discussing 5 strategies, and then discuss discrepancies. That's a lot of content. So what that means is you're not going to waste the first 40 seconds going, hey man, how are you? I'm fine. Happy to be here. Great. Awesome to have you here too. Okay, so today I want to talk to this person. Now, you've just wasted so much time with your ridiculous greetings that nobody wants to hear. That banter is perfectly okay to have when you meet with somebody, but you're going to edit it out of your final cut of your podcast. Please, I don't want to listen to that. You're wasting time. You've only got 3 or 4 minutes to cover all of this content. Don't talk nonsense. Okay. The interview has to be with any manager of your choosing. The guest has to be in a managerial position, and the name and company details of the manager should be provided in your assignment for verification purposes, because I will check. I will check, especially if it sounds fishy, especially if it looks fishy. I'm going to check. The article titled, well, that's the article that I scrolled to show you, forms the backdrop for your discussion. Ensure that you and your guest have read the article before attempting the interview recording, because if you haven't done that, you're not going to have much meat to your discussion. And I think that is the major problem that I have had with marking podcasts like this, is people talk in vague generalizations instead of actually doing the homework and getting to the meaty stuff, the grit, the specifics. The interview should be uploaded to either SoundCloud or YouTube, and a working link to the interview as well as a transcript should be included in your assessment. Another major issue is the working link. If you are in edit mode, the link that is in your address bar is not a link that is going to work for me because I am not logged into your account. You need to publish and then hit the share button, which will provide you with the link. Okay? Because imagine go through all this work to create a beautiful podcast, and then your link doesn't work, and you lose, how many marks is it? 42 marks. How can you possibly pass if you don't submit this? Sure. You're also going to provide a transcript of the conversation. So you might be thinking, a transcript, oh no, that's too much work. It's only 3-4 minutes, and you can also try use some auto transcription software. I know that Microsoft Teams, for instance, will automatically transcribe a discussion that you have in. So if you decide to conduct your podcast in Microsoft Teams, even if you're sitting in the room together, you can still record it on Teams, and during the meeting, if you record it, it will automatically transcribe what you say, and then you can tidy that up and edit it. Teams is free. So I do recommend it. I'm busy recording this in Zoom because I'm just more familiar with Zoom. Could have used Teams. So there you go. Upon successfully uploading your interview, answer the questions below and then write a reflective paragraph where you elaborate on your experience of active listening during conversation with your guest. So you're going to cover active listening in class. And remember, 250 words is about 10 sentences. It's not just 3 or 4 sentences, it's 10 sentences. And this is a reflection on the experience of recording the conversation. Okay. Is active listening a skill that came natural to you? Or perhaps it is rather something challenging that requires more effort. Why or why not? In your paragraph on active listening as a skill, refer to 5 steps of active listening according to your textbook. Again, this is going to be in your slides. It's going to be covered in class. Just attend lectures and everything is going to be much easier. Or just refer to your textbook and make sure that you reference when you refer to those 5 steps of active listening. There is a specific page that they begin on. Just look out for 5 steps and then include that in your paragraph. Refer to the question to assist you in answering. Refer to the mark breakdown to ensure you've covered all aspects of the question. So in your paragraph, this is not for your paragraph. This is for your podcast. So your podcast requires you to differentiate between workplace conflict and bullying, and then provide an explanation or examples of any 5 strategies to lead and motivate people. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I don't want to mislead you. So after your podcast, you are then going to answer these questions in writing. Okay. So this is not just in your podcast, but you can use it as a basis for your script, I suppose. So for 4 marks, remember that earlier in your assessment, you got 5 marks for writing 250 words. So that tells you to get 4 marks, you need to write more than a couple sentences. Please write maybe 8 sentences. Provide an explanation or examples of any 5 other strategies to lead and motivate people. Again, research and reference based on your interview. So now after you've done your podcast, after you've recorded it, elaborate on whether there is a difference between what the theory suggests and what actually happens. As the article, which has been provided to you, suggests that managers and organizational leaders often fail their subordinates. So this is a reflection after you've done your podcast for 20 marks. Whew. To get those 20 marks. So 5 strategies, 4 marks each. So this is a full page that you are going to write to answer this question. A full page for that question. Just look at that, 20 marks for this. Pay attention to that, because earlier on, I'm guessing that what you'll end up doing is putting a lot of energy into your first few questions and then kind of losing interest and running out of time, and then neglecting this one for 20 marks. And that's not good. Provide a working link to the interview, a transcript, and verification details of the manager for 5 marks. Make sure that the link is present on your cover page. Write a reflective paragraph on your active listening skills. That's another 13 marks. Shoo. Don't neglect this. Ensure that you reflect on your own active listening for 3 marks, as this is something that comes, is it something that comes natural? Or did you find it challenging? Why or not? Refer to the 5 steps of active listening according to your textbook for another 10 marks. So to get 13 marks, again, I'm thinking write a full page to answer this question. A full page. I hope that I've said that enough times for it to penetrate. So there are your learning outcomes. You can read those in your own time. Pay very careful attention to the rubric. Okay, and there you go. Don't ignore your nice cover page. Don't ignore this. And definitely do not ignore this article attached at the end. There you have it. Good luck. Please do not leave this to the end. Podcasts take time. It takes time to find the right person to interview. It takes time for them to prepare. It takes time for you to match up your schedules. So get going. So that's from me, Eloise in Durban, and hopefully your own lecturers will answer any of your questions that you have about this assessment. Goodbye.